Dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Well, welcome to this evening. I'm talking this evening with Santa Surfing from Hawaii.
Aloha.
Hi there.
Aloha, Charlie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
Oh, very well, thank you. That looks like about our sunset yesterday, which you have in the background.
I know.
Yeah.
What an amazing time we're living in, hey?
Oh my goodness, I can't even keep up. It's overwhelming.
Well, you and I have been on the same sort of page, but my journey started back, 6 years ago. I was told that this was going to happen. And then 2 years ago, they told me it was nearly about to happen because they got Trump into power. And then it was at where were we? December last year, where I was told by an extremely good source within the American government that it was going to happen this year. And of course, it has happened. So when people tell you something's going to happen that you don't really think, and they told me what was going to happen, it was they were going to collapse the world's economy. And I could not believe how easily they did it with nothing more than the common cold.
Right. And don't you love how President Trump just turned that around and turned it against them?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fascinating because I've watched the journey. And originally, I wouldn't say I was a Trump lover or a Trump hater. I was sort of neither here nor there. But I've seen what he's been doing, and it's been incredibly impressive. But I do know that there's a huge alliance behind it that has carefully planned this out. And it's not just the Americans, of course. I've said in a number of my videos that the top man in China and in India and in Russia are working very closely with him. Now, we have to be very careful when we talk about China because most of the people around Xi Jinping are the deep state, but he himself is working with Donald Trump and working very closely with him. But he will be removing most of his government, which is the communist state, and replacing it with a new Republican state.
Right. Now, the EO is pretty strong. And I'm going to ask you this question then, Charlie. When President Trump, because I'm curious now, President Trump had a great relationship with President Xi. And then at the press conference that he had earlier this week, where he announced, it was on Tuesday, where he announced the EO on Hong Kong. Against Hong Kong. He made it very clear to the reporter. The reporter asked about his relationship with President Xi, and he was he said, no, we don't get along. And I thought, okay, is that optics or is that, because I know like 3 months ago they got along great. So
100% optics.
Okay, that was, thank you.
100%. There's absolutely no question about that. They're working incredibly closely. And there's a very simple reason that I know that is that the family who you've probably heard of, the Dragon family, who are actually funding this whole transition. I have been very closely linked to that family and friends with that family for 15, 16 years. So I get my intel directly from them as well. And they're obviously from the original Himalayan descent rather than the communist state. The communist state bullied their way in. And they, being typically Chinese, they sort of sat back and watched it. Well, didn't have really much choice, but they've always had an awful lot of control. So they've given me a lot of insight that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Okay. That's good that you have that kind of connection. They're giving you insight with what they're doing, or are these the white hats in the Dragon family that are giving you the insight? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's the white hats in the Dragon family, which most of the Dragon family are white hats. Most are.
Okay.
They're not part of the Communist Party as such.
Okay. So yeah, but the EO, what I found interesting, Charlie, is that it covers all the different tentacles of all the connections that has anything to do with CCP, the deep state, if you will. And I loved how President Trump actually covered all of that. It's pretty much, there's many people in Congress, our Congress, that's going down just because of that.
Yes.
And then the question I also am curious about is, and I haven't had a chance to dig, is all the companies that are Chinese owned. and all of their assets are now seized. So what happens then? And like Waldorf, Astoria, that's a big name and it's Chinese owned, and there were quite a few other companies that are Chinese owned. So I'm just kind of curious what will happen with that
Well, I
if they
think
just lose.
this is a very important point to discuss here, because the issue that is very important here is over the last 10 years, we've sort of got into this identity politics where we put everybody in the same box. Now, there are good people and bad people in every walk of life,
Mm-hmm.
and every skin color, and every culture. And it's like I had somebody the other day was saying to me, well, do you realize that Trump's son's married to a Zionist? I said, well, is every Zionist evil or not? And the answer is quite clearly no. I'm a Christian and I'm married to a Muslim. She's probably the kindest, most wonderful woman I've ever met. And there are many, many very, very good Muslims, but many, many bad ones. And there are many good white people and bad white people, good black people and bad black people. And we've got into this mold where the left wing have been filling us full of propaganda and the mainstream media to sort of hate a certain group of people.
And I agree. And that's the division, and that's what they want. And it's very frustrating. And the media is in on this as well, just showing old clips of all these riots, and people are getting angry in America because they're thinking our country is falling apart. But what they're not saying, the media isn't sharing. I wish they would just share the truth, like what you share or what I share, or the truth that we dig into. I'm not always right. I make mistakes, but my intentions are good, like with yours. So I believe, but yeah, the media is all in on this, and I think Trump is saving them for last. I really do. I think our media is going to implode next. The banks are next. Federal Reserve is next, and then, well, I think Fed's first, and then the banks, and then the big banks.
Well, the Federal Reserve, from what I understand, next week will be critical for that, for parts of that. And then you have to understand also in China, where they have got this huge communist bank that had a serious amount of fake gold backing their currency, have been exposed for that. So that'll have a domino effect on the banks. That'll be the first one, and that's convenient. Because they point to China and say, well, they collapsed the banks, like they did with Wuhan. The fact that Fauci funded it.
What?
What?
Oh, I did not know that.
Fauci funded the laboratory in Wuhan.
Oh, I did not know that. Thanks for enlightening me. I thought it was Gates. So
Fauci and Gates are best friends.
Yes.
And
yes.
Fauci signed off the money from the U.S. government.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's like a slow drip of news coming out about Fauci now. And it looks like the liberal magazines are picking him up to do like front page covers. I think it was Time magazine or something, and just trying to cover him up to make him look like he's a good guy. But I'll tell you, our enemies have been everybody except for each other. I mean, President Trump has 70 million patriots here in America alone, and then I don't know how many millions in the UK. I mean, honestly, the UK absolutely loves President Trump, and I love the fact that the UK, Australia, so many different countries, they love President Trump. They want him to run their countries.
They do. But the media won't have you believe that. Our media in Europe and the media in the UK will say that that's not true. But that's just the mainstream media. That's how they are. But if you look on the internet for the truth, you find out exactly what you just said.
Right. And you have to, and then you have to dig, and you have to count on reliable anons. And in your case, you're a lot more connected than I am. I actually just get information from a lot of people on Twitter, and some of them I call angel anons. I know they're a lot more than what they say they are on their account. And then they kind of feed me with information and direct me. So I have a question to ask you, Charlie. How is it that I know you're interviewing me, but I'm so curious about you. How is it you have grown your audience in such an incredible way? I think it's fantastic. I mean, you really have really catapulted your audience and went boom.
I
I mean, you're
That I don't know. I've tried to stick to truth rather than propaganda
okay.
and conspiracy.
Okay.
And I've often said when I'm saying this is just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. But people seem to know that with what I do, I work with
Sorry.
for many years now with moving money around for government. So you tend to get stuck with diplomats and ambassadors for long periods of times on private jets when you're moving stuff. And you'll end up
Ah,
talking to them, and they're mines of information. Um,
right.
and there's some things that I can discuss, and there's some things I can't discuss. And on this particular issue,
Mm.
they've been telling me what I can and what I can't say.
Okay. Okay. I
But
respect that.
yeah, but they've been very generous, far more generous than I expected.
Okay.
And all they've done is given me basically the corner pieces of the puzzle and given me a box with about 3 or 4 puzzles in. I'm trying to work out which bits fit.
Okay. Well, if you've been decoding Q, then that's surely probably very easy for you then.
Well,
Because remember the
I started off looking at Q, but I haven't actually looked at Q drops now for about 6 or 8 weeks
okay.
because I haven't needed to, because the information I've been getting through has been
Yeah.
that strong.
Right.
We have direct access to Mr. Fleming, who gives us an awful lot of info.
Very nice. Very nice. So, I mean, that's wonderful. And I believe, too, it's important to have more voices like yours out there because your audience may not like my style, but they like your style. And that, and it's just that as many podcasters that we can get sharing this kind of information. And I also believe you are many of your podcasts are forward thinking. You kind of give people what to look forward to,
Yeah.
where some like to kind of dwell on today. Like my audience, they really look forward to like what's the price of silver today and what's happening and what happened. So on Tuesday, I guess, is the beginning of the 8-week transition. 8-week period. I am so curious to know what is that. Well, I kind of have an idea, but the 8-week period starts.
The collapsing of the SWIFT system and the introduction of the quantum financial system. But how they do that, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting transition.
Right. Now, I have a question. I'm so glad that you reached out to me, Charlie, because I read an article about Boris Johnson that is taking in refugees from the CCP to help them in this process. Did you hear about? I'm sure you heard about that as well. How is that help?
I've heard about it, but the one thing that's been very, very interesting that I've learned that Donald Trump, if he was to tell you that these people were going to do something, nobody would believe him.
Right.
So he's allowing the deep state to do these type of things to show what they're really like. So people can see firsthand what they're doing. Because if he told them they were going to do it, nobody would believe him. So he's allowing a number of people in England, in Spain, in other countries to do stupid things. We're currently in Spain right now, and we've all been made to wear masks.
Okay.
It's 38 degrees.
Oh. Ooh,
it's boiling hot. It's a bit like, well, it's not quite like Hawaii, but the temperature's up there.
Yeah.
Nothing like Hawaii. But it's hot. Now, I found out the other day that wearing the mask, they're telling us, the authorities are telling us, because it's another spike of COVID-19. But I've established that that's a lie, because only one person died in this province this week from influenza or a cold, because it's not the right season, so there is no spike. But I found out that they're using it to test facial recognition with a new camera system in 130 countries.
Really?
Yep, and we've got hard evidence of that. And we've suddenly all noticed there's cameras everywhere around where we live that we'd never noticed before, that have suddenly shot up while we were shut inside.
Oh my God.
And this is all part of the deep state. This is all part of the AI, the artificial intelligence, and all the cameras and the 5G. This is all part of the same thing. But Trump has allowed them to do that to expose what they're actually at.
Okay. Right. So I didn't know about Spain. So is it the entire country? I mean, is your country required, the whole country required to wear masks now?
No, it's in
Because,
Andalusia where we are in the south.
okay.
Me, I've never worn a mask, but I always find a way around it. So I got myself a little ventilator.
Yeah.
And I've never used it, but I just show it to the police. I have that, and I have a letter from my doctor saying that for me to wear a mask would be very dangerous, and he doesn't recommend it. So that's worked very, very well, because I can't be bothered with all the bullshit that goes with it. So
Right.
my job is to find solutions, not to find problems.
Oh, there you go. That sounds like my husband. He always says, "There's no problem. There's never a problem. There's always a solution."
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. When going back to what Trump says, I mean, in many ways, I believe President Trump, he says something just like Noah was building an ark, and everyone laughed at him until it rained, and then suddenly they weren't laughing at him.
Exactly.
But so with President Trump's demeanor, and just in the last week here, he just seems like he's really wrapping things up. He's gotten rid of all the deep state. Our Congress hasn't been a no-show for 4.5 months. Our House Congress, our Senate's coming back on Monday. I don't know if any of the Dems. Oh, did you hear this? The Dems are told the Congress. The Dems are instructing the Congress, Dem Congress, not to show up for the DNC conference. It's like, oh my gosh, how much more obvious is that? Is it because they're all in Gitmo?
Yeah, there's a lot to that, because there is a lot of them that have already been arrested that are already there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got computer geeks all around me, and they were showing me the other day the flight path around Guantanamo Bay. It was incredible, the amount of planes coming in and out of there.
Isn't it? I mean, you can't even see the airport from those flight trackers.
I know.
It's so
they're just taking them in and not taking them out.
Well, yeah, they get a one-way. They get a one-way ticket. I mean, we could kind of doll it up and say, hey, you get an ocean front, or you get to live on an island. It's guard gated. You get free meals.
Yeah.
But did you also hear that and I got a lot of people saying that a lot of the Texas military, specifically in Texas, have been deported or have been assigned to Guantanamo. So
yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So, okay, good. You're verifying a lot of things for me, so I appreciate that. But that's really, really good, because, and I think this is really helping some of those that are on the fence, that they're now jumping on board. I don't know if you have a Twitter account, but I've noticed a lot of liberals have followed me recently, and it's because I think they're liberals because they may have been Bernie supporters, but then they're realizing, hey, Biden and the Democrats are really going in the wrong direction, and I'm going to jump on the Trump train.
Well,
they don't necessarily like him personality wise, and you're from Europe. You know how it is. Everyone speaks very bluntly. I have relatives in Europe. I mean, we can get a lot said in 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And so they may not like the way he delivers, but he's not a politician. He's a businessman. He takes care of things. And so I try to always bring out the point of, you can have a politician that's eloquently spoken, or you can have a very blunt, bold president who has the guts to go ahead and take action to give you a better life. And the ones that aren't on board, I think they're never going to be convinced.
No. The one thing that I've made a very big point of recently, I don't care if you don't like him. I don't care if you don't like his tweets, his floppy hair. That makes no difference. That's identity politics. But when you consider that he's the only president in 30 years not to go to war against anybody in his first term, he's the first one for 30 years. And not only that, if he'd only saved one woman and one child from trafficking, that would make him a good person, but he hasn't. He saved thousands.
Oh, right. And that kind of squashes out. If it's one person, they become a hero.
Yeah.
But if there's thousands, it just gets, got it. Very good point.
Every life, forget Black Lives Matter, that's a political stunt, but every life is valuable, whether it's a woman or a child or anybody, it makes no difference. But he has saved so many women and children from trafficking.
Yeah.
The rest of his politics don't matter to me, because that's made him a hero. Forget whether you like him or hate him. In fact, he's saving women and children from trafficking. That's in its own right. puts him on a pedestal above anybody else.
Exactly. And the argument we have with these people out here, the liberals, they just totally, when we address that, it just goes right over their head and they talk about something else. And I said, you know what, these are the paid trolls. And there's an account on Twitter, Intheo Shines. He warned us about this. He said that they are being funded by our payroll or by our taxes to paid to troll us hard.
Yeah.
And now even I've noticed some, I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm not going to mention any names, but there's even some podcasters that have flipped a switch. And it's like, whoa, what's going on?
Yep.
You know, you were pro-Trump last week and now all of a sudden you're anti-Trump. Yeah. So I call those sleepers.
Yeah,
But,
no, exactly. I've got selective hearing and I've also got selective viewing. And if somebody's having a go, my videos at the moment range between 97% likes to 99.6%, which is phenomenal.
yeah.
So the 1 or 2 or 3% that are moaning like bitches, I really don't have the time of day for. If it was 50-50, I'd look at them. But when it's at 97, 98, 99%, look, I'm very happy that I've got 3% that don't like me.
right. Because if you were perfect, then somebody would question that. They would be like, huh.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
It's kind of like when I look for, let's say, a new hairstylist, I'm going to look at the reviews. If they have a perfect score, I'm like, I don't know. They're probably paid to put those in there. But, you know.
Well, I've got the perfect hairstyle.
That was probably not a very good analogy on my part here.
No, that's spot on. But we're living in absolutely fabulous times, aren't we?
Oh, we are.
I've never felt more peaceful.
You know what? Okay. Can I ask you, Charlie, where were you emotionally 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
For the last 12 weeks, 14 weeks, I've been so peaceful you wouldn't believe.
Really? Okay. Because 3 weeks ago, I was a bloody mess. I emotionally, because I felt a transition of energy of going on. And then the last 2 weeks, I've been kind of really like floating on a cloud. Although I did wipe out at Costco the other day, but I've been dancing in my chair.
Yeah.
I've been doing I'm exhausted by the time I'm ready to do a podcast because I've been dancing. Or my neighbors think I'm a lunatic. Most of them are liberals, but they all, they're now getting it. They're now beginning to see it. And I
love your podcast. I really do. I really enjoy them. They're upbeat. They're positive. And yours and my job is just to give people hope in a difficult time.
Bingo, exactly. I completely agree. Yes. And because there's so much, even though you take the news today, what is really happening? We don't ever hear the media talking about that, about why we're allowed to see the Antifa doing what they're doing. It's because Trump, then it shows Trump coming in as the white knight, cleaning things up.
Of course.
And then we could see the path to the greatness. But he's got to get rid of all the bad people to get the greatness to roll out. So
yeah, but there's also a very important point there that when this is over, there'll still be evil out there, but good will be in control.
Yeah,
we're not going to. We're going to move into the Great Awakening, definitely, but there will still be negative forces out there, but they won't any longer be in control.
Okay, got it. Right. You see, and that's because then they are powerless and penniless.
Yeah.
And then they just need to just go out and get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing the plan just working out beautifully. And President Trump, now looking at President Trump, he seems like he's got this incredible, beautiful Christmas gift to give us. And he is so excited that he can't say what it is because it's not Christmas yet. So you see it in his facial expression and how happy he is, and he's now, do you notice too, he's even sending hair combs. Like he's got gold hair one day, silver the next. It's like, okay, let's stock up on gold and silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the only president I've ever known that looks younger after 4 years than when he started. Thank
you. Exactly. And then I'm looking at the past fake president, I call him. He's aged, well, if that's even him, he's aged quite a bit, or whether it's a lookalike or a clone or whatever, they've aged quite a bit. And then we're calling, Big Mike having prison hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, I guess they're all falling apart. But
Unless it
yeah,
just comes down to it, spending a night with Melania, maybe that's what it does to you.
no, you're right. She is so stunning. I mean, I want to be Melania when I grow up, but I've got such a like a kind of like a tomboy side of me. I don't know if she has that, but
Yeah.
she's so stunning and she's so beautiful within.
Yes. I'm very impressed with the way the whole family have handled themselves. And
Mm.
the biggest problem you've got with the Democrats is the fact that they fired all their bullets far too early. And none of the bullets were live ammunition. They were just rubber bullets. So they were absolutely useless.
It's so true.
When you've got 80-year-old guys with automatic weapons with rubber bullets, it's bloody useless, isn't it?
It's so useless. I mean, okay, yeah, we get a little pain for about 2 minutes.
Well,
And
they
then,
couldn't even hit. That was the problem.
bingo.
Exactly. Exactly.
But the problem is too, Charlie, is that they use the same playbook.
Oh,
And
I
it's
know.
like, it's like the Trump looks at that playbook and he's like, man, this is getting so old. Okay, we know they're going to page 3 of their playbook right now. They're so predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But there's
what I want the karma to be is I would love to see the General Flynn. I would like to see when he gets through this, him being put in charge in Barr's job as the Attorney General, so he can pass judgment on them all. That would be a wonderful karma.
I cannot wait. Sullivan, I think, is afraid
Yeah.
to have, because he's got some criminal codes associated to his name.
Yeah.
And he's afraid that once this happens, then the floodgates open. Whereas if he keeps this case locked up for a while, then no one can touch him. He's untouchable.
Yeah.
But the minute something happens, I believe, this is my opinion, the minute that he has to dismiss the case.
Yeah, of course.
Then all of a sudden it's an open target for him, and AG Barr is like, and John Durham are like roaring lions ready to go ahead and get him.
Oh, John Durham is pulling all the strings behind the scenes, I can promise you.
Oh, thank you. And his son has been working on the investigation on MS-13 for 10 years. So you have an incredible insight to what's going on with what's going on here in America. I really love that. And now that I understand more about who you who you do associate with, that's incredible. That's wonderful. I have people that tell me that Trump team listens to my podcast, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I don't really think anything about it because I was never in it for the subscribers, but I'm close to 100,000 right now.
You're doing very well. You're doing incredibly well.
I mean, a couple of squirrels and a couple of like wacko moments, but thank you. I've even thought about like doing joint podcasts once a week, because having like this kind of a talk, kind of an interaction with people, like forward thinking talking.
I've got an idea. For you. What we could do is instead of having to block out the screen to show you, we could actually put a mask on you. That would be fun.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
Like a masquerade ball mask, so nobody knows who you are.
Oh no, and I would actually be happy to, but I've been instructed to just be this way.
No, I understand that, and I respect
really
that
would.
totally.
I have total faith in God. I have angels surrounding me. I do believe that. I feel that every day. So I feel good about this, but it's just we're so close. We're just like weeks away from the indictments that I think they're getting unsealed now. I don't know if you've heard anything, but it sure seems like they are getting unsealed now. And then the sealed ones, I think that's already been done. But the unsealed ones, I just really.
It was made very clear to me from my contacts that there was a specific order that they had to be done in, and they had to remove the corrupt lawyers, barristers, and judges before they even thought about the big players.
That makes sense.
Of course it does.
Because some are not going to go to military tribunals and they'll hit the courts.
Correct.
That makes sense. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that.
There's a lot of things that when you look back, an ounce of foresight is worth a ton of hindsight. You can look back and go, oh yeah, I get that now. It makes sense. So they've lifted all the people they can run to.
You must be a very good chess player because if you
I
think,
can't even play chess, but
well,
but I am on my fourth wife.
oh, that's all right. No, because that's the way a chess player thinks. I'm
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a 2 or 3 move chess player.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my husband, he's already seen the end game after my first move.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, oh, and he's like, don't worry, God's got this. It's like,
Yeah.
all right. And just the added bonus of the greatness. Whoever thought that was going to come into play?
Sure.
The greatness plan, because I believe this greatness plan is also once it, like Q says, America. When America wins, the world wins. I think they said it the other way around, though.
No, that's true. So true.
Yes. I mean, it
We
seems
are.
like all the countries are waiting for America first, and then the domino effect.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
This is 100%. This is the Great Awakening, and it's a wonderful time we're coming into. And when we heard him say at the start, right at the start, about draining the swamp, I don't think any of us had any idea how dirty and how far-reaching the swamp was.
Mm-hmm. And that phrase has so many different meanings, which I won't get into, but it does have a lot of multiple meanings to it. I've learned, yes, which is really good in many ways. I mean, it's draining that political swamp,
Sure.
but it's also the financial swamp,
the pedophile swamp, the Hollywood swamp.
Yes, and Hollywood's done. Did you see that tweet about the U.S. Army and the U.S. Navy and how there was last Saturday? U.S. Navy posted, "We got him," and they had pictures of Tom Hanks' movie, and they actually put the hashtag of Tom Hanks movie. I don't know who it is.
Okay.
And then people were really upset. They were like, "How is it that you're promoting Tom Hanks? He's a pedo. He's a pedo."
Yeah.
And then I saw an Army reply to an Army tweet that said the Army Rangers handed him over to the Navy. So I'm paraphrasing that terribly, but the point is that the Army Rangers got him, and then they handed him over to the Navy. Now the Navy has him, and then the Navy saw all the mixed responses and said, he meaning Hanks, learned by his mistakes. And it was like, bingo. So it's just, but there's so many decodes going on right now, and it's in beautiful ways. I don't know if you do gematria decodes, but I wasn't into that. And then now I am. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And how a few of them have so right now come to fruition. And it's like, man, this is great. So
there's a lot of good stuff that's coming out.
Yes, a lot of good stuff.
Well, we should do this again. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Maybe I can have you come on my show and we can actually just kind of go.
Absolutely love to.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Maybe that's when I will do my big reveal.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I would. But I really thank you so much for reaching out, Charlie. I'm so happy to see your channel growing and growing. That's what we're all about, right? Just
it's been an absolute pleasure, Mrs. Trump.
And I'm going to say thank you, President Trump and Melania Trump, because I know that they have their people listening to a lot of different podcasters out there. But thank you very much, Charlie. I really appreciate this. This has really been great.
Pleasure, and he's doing an amazing job. And certainly from us in Europe, we're very grateful for every single paedophile that removes from this earth, and every trafficker, every one of these, the deep state and the cabal. We're all very, very grateful for what's being done right now.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Also, I really do appreciate the international support that President Trump gets. I think it's phenomenal. I've never seen a president have that kind of support before, ever.
It's excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Yes, thank you so much. Aloha.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.